Hello everyone, this is Blender Guppy. In this video, I'm going to recreate this saucer model that I did and posted on Instagram and Twitter. This is actually the second recreation, but my PC froze and I have lost the file recording. So I'm going to repeat it on this video, and this is the third try. Okay, so I'm saving this as another file, and let's start over again. Cursor to world origin, and I'm going to delete this objects here, and create a sphere and set the segments to 64 by 32. Then I'm going to scale model just like that. So this is to emulate the saucer shape, and then I'm going to you can design this yourself and create another design variation. If you wish to copy mine, go ahead. This scale to the z-axis, following the active element. So this edge loop here will scale to this edge loop here, and get rid of this and mirror x, y, and z. Auto smooth. So this area here, so the add-on or random flow, the operators work mostly with, or optimally with quad faces, but the subdivision actually works with tries, and the only exception is ingons. So if we select this and random panels, subdivide, reduce the thickness and the depth, flip the center verts or symmetry line, so you can see that um, you can try radial, but it's still, of course, the flow of the randomization is still going towards the triangle, so going to have to uh, quantify this. But instead of quantifying the original mesh, let's create another object here. Shift D, Alt S, and then P to separate the selection as another object. And then extrude, scale, okay. And scale it. Let's apply the mirror first by mesh, and then scale. Then we have to mirror it again. So there's a separate video for the mirror operator. Go ahead and watch that. Bevel this to make the transition softer. Now let's begin the codification. Actually, so the original model didn't have this. I'm just trying to create a different model this time. Okay. So for this software surfaces here, I'm going to use random panels with these structures, with these surfaces here, or this area. I'm going to use a random loop extrude to create the detail. And with this, I'm going to create the I'm going to use the random panels. So let's try and actually let's apply the mesh again because we're going to quantify this area. Delete and Control FG and 7. So it is top view and it is aligned in the XY axis. F9 to open the redo panel of the fill grid. So for say, what I did was select the terminator edges. They must be even for this to work. Control F and G. So that's grid fill. Control F G and F9 to bring up the redo panel. If you lose the redo panel, you can still open it here. The redo panel can be opened here. This is static, and or you can open it using the F9 hotkey. Okay. So we have to align it with this. Okay, so I'm just going to use this, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you can do this, qualify it like this, like a mesh structure. But I'm just going to use this kind of topology. So if you're following me, loosely follow what I'm doing because we are dealing with randomization and you may not exactly get the same results that I am getting here. So A, not A, C, I mean, yeah, A, escape. I'm not sure this is aligned. Okay, going to establish the mirror again. So I say, okay, it's aligned, but it's kind of going to that. Actually, it's not aligned. But when I establish the mirror, of course, it fixed itself. You can see that this is actually going towards this vertex here. Okay. I'm going to straighten this out and press period and choose active element as the pivot point. This will be the pivot point. I'm going to scale it to the x-axis and press 0. Press SX, S to scale, and press X to lock the Y and Z axis, or select the S axis. So at this stage, I'm just prepping the topology of the mesh because the randomization is heavily dependent on the way we have set up our topology. So the second video which I did, which where my PC froze, that's actually pretty good because I rebuilt the shader from start and also the compositing, but yeah, we might do it here. Okay, we have our topology. Actually, this is I'm going to transfer the geometry side of this top part here, this one on a mirror. Pick this side, and this is already using the mirror modifier, and the XYZ axis is already turned on. So I'm going to press space to confirm the operation, and we have the real geometry of the top hatch on this side. Okay. Um, let's deal with this first. Actually, add an edge loop and random loop extrude. I'm gonna choose one of my presets. Okay, that's two. Oh, let's apply the scale first, just to be sure. Scale. Select this one and select the face loop. Test small scale. Okay. Going to reduce the inset depth 0.005 and copy this value on one, two and three loop, two and the second and third loop objects. Let's try longest. And get rid of this overlap here. It's probably the third loop object, so let's try and or the second loop object. So you can see here that geometry is losing structure. So instead, I'm gonna try and turn off the probe, see if I can see the unnecessary bump detail that's resultant from using the subdivision in the script. So there's a video for that with the limited dissolve on how it's being used. So try and watch that. So if we toggle this off, we maintain the quad structure of the mesh. So I'm just at this stage when I'm playing around with the subdivision and the seed values. I'm trying to decide on which randomized result I'm going to use and try and look for shapes that looks functional relative to the idea of the model that I'm trying to create. Okay, this looks good. This looks like exposed mechanism. Now let's try and use lesser actually. Use 5% for the file size. Try and randomize this. So besides random animation, the next update will have the randomized elements. This will randomize the index of faces, edges, and verts depending on the selection mode that you have. So if you're in face selection mode, this will randomize the faces. If you're in edge selection mode, this will randomize the edges, and in vertex mode will randomize the vertex. So the operator only uses face index and edge index, but I put the vert. You can use the same operator to randomize the indices of vertices. So uh, in case you might have a use for it. So the random loop extrude and random panels are using face index for randomization, and random tubes is using edge index. This is two for its randomization. So this is going to be mainly used if the result of the randomization feels kind of weird to you. So sometimes if you're randomizing cursive, sometimes the path none might uh, give out this kind of pattern, and it's kind of weird that it's doing that. So If it does that, so you can just use the random randomizer to try and create a different result for the randomization. Let's try that. Actually, the three element. Okay, a bit strange. I'm just gonna look on that later on. So the it's supposed to just randomize the number, jumble the numbers that is existing here, but it's used all of this, change the number. So that's not supposed to happen. Okay, randomize, and the changes it might give is pretty subtle. So it's just there just in case. Okay, then I can deal with that. It's not that. Okay, so we're going to deal with this area next. Add another edge loop and random loop strip 1, 2, and 3. So this time the bumps are showing up. I toggle this off. Okay, so limited so, but instead of using 2.5, I'm going to use 5 degrees. I'm going to use 2.5 degrees. That way, it will maintain the structure of the mesh. While in the faces, in the faces smoother, look at using the subdivision from the script. Okay, this is, let's bring it up some more, 0.02. We'll C, B, and B. Okay. Remember, you're trying to get some functional forms out of the chaos. Okay, and let's use random panels. By the way, if you're going to randomize, I suggest that if you're entering the mesh again in edit mode, press Alt A to make sure that you've deselected everything, then select the new faces you're going to randomize. And random panels. So instead of using limited dissolve, let's try and smooth the subdivision 0.5. Remember this the smoothing 0.5 is the optimal value, not 1. Okay, just use sampling. Okay, you can see the bumps starting to show up here. So I'm going to go back and just use the subdivision level 3. So with the bumps showing up like that, you can use limited dissolve to clean it up. 2.5. Okay, 1. There we go. And but in this case, I'm just going to use a lower subdivision and smoothing to have a smoother face. To add a smoother surface on the model. Gel. Let's try and use big shapes first. Then on top of this, we're going to layer another cut detail. And this part, random panels. I'm going to use radial or not, shortest. Okay, cursive. Okay, one. And with this one, random panels two, dumpling. Try radial again. Okay, that looks good. That looks uh like it makes sense. Okay, the design. But of course, this is user preference. So look for the shapes that you want, but also um, make sure that it looks functional. Okay. Um, I'm going to give this the mesh a vertex color, but I'm just going to use gray values. And instead of using per object color, I'm going to use per island or face island color. And the value minimum is 0.5, maximum is 0.9. 0.9. And play around with the seed value and the island offset. So 2 means that it will use the interval of 2 islands before it changes the color. 0.7, 0.6. If you can't get a particular color to show up on the area, but you want the rest of the color, so just use the selection method. For example, here, L to select the island, hover on the area and select the island, vertex color and play around. Okay, selected. Let's play around with value until you get the same color, or you can use cuber, select the face, copy the vertex color and set the vertex color. Okay, but I actually want it this way, so let's use that. I'm just gonna use the select again, create stripes. Okay, 2. We just subtle white, and then selecting everything again. Assign a material not found. What is this? Our material. So this is the same material that you saw in the video, and as and this is also the same material that I used for the station model, for the space station modeling video. So simple dirt again, you can get this from my Patreon/BlenderGapi is for free. Every post there is public, so you can just go there and download whatever you want. So for the lights, I used um actually This is okay. For the lights, I use GS placement and just created a color ramp to influence the result of that. Actually, this is using the random per island node. So this is going to be the main um but unfortunately it only works with cycles. So actually I think this is why it froze on the second video, but random per island, make it on top. If we take this up, so that's going to be the islands, and we can randomize this actually. And constant, then texture, white noise, choose 1D, and converter, math, add, let's try it. Okay, probably this way. Okay, so that's the randomization. We turn this off, and then this result, this alpha, we're going to multiply with this color here, the JS placement texture. So set this up in the color one input there, and get rid of the lights in the Z and in positive Z and the negative Z axis. So we're only left with the lights on the side, and then we can play around with the values. Choose 0.9. Okay, and going to snap the 3D cursor on this side. So snapping the 3D cursor, go to the active tool and workspace settings in the properties window, and then workspace. No, I think it's not a, is it a workspace? Okay, cursor. There we go. Press shift space, select cursor, and activate surface project. So if you click on a surface, the 3D cursor will um, snap to that surface. So it's very good for placing things. And track lights. This is in Creative Bundle. Make lamp and track. Let's change the. So it's always gonna point on that spot that on the position of the 3D cursor, an empty was created, and then the lights will the lamp will be tracking that empty always. Done. Use follow black body, strength of 1, size of, okay, smooth of 1. Let's view it. and use overcast and adjust the Z. Station Z again, Z axis to bring it up and down. Okay, rendered and duplicate, rotate. Going to use a low strength for this one. 0.05. Okay, so have this. Okay, we have our saucer, and let's try and render this. So if you want, I can recreate the compositor. So I'm just going to render this. You won't see the render window because I'm only recording the um I'm only recording the Blender window. So this is our result using 8 samples, and we can actually I'm just going to explain this. So to soften the pixels of the render. You can also use sharpen if you like, and use any values here, and just of course use the result that looks good to you. I have bright and contrast, so 5 for the brightness, and contrast is 8. So usually this is double this amount, so 10. So the lower this will start to lighten up the shadow area, to brighten up the shadow area. And we have the map range. If you have Node Wrangler on, this comes shipped with Blender, so uh, you can install it. It's with it's comes with Blender, so you can just turn it on in the user preferences, the add-on section. Control Shift to view this, and it's going to use the Node Wrangler to I mean, it's only available if the Node Wrangler add-on is installed. So Control Shift. This is the result of these nodes up to here, and let's adjust this. Let's try and adjust this. I mean, so 0.08. If you add the map range is in vector. This is going to be the default. So you plug the texture to the value, and then minimum. You're going to control the minimum for this one. 0.08. But put one here in the, oh no, put one in from max and put one into max. So actually this is the default on older versions, but they changed it to all zeros. I don't know what happened. And the result of this is going to be colorized using the color mix, um, the mix node with the color blending mode. And then I choose blue. And then after that, I added it to the image and used after that color balance and shadow. The left is shadow, gamma is a mid-tone, and this is highlights. So I just adjusted the highlights. Again, you can just eyeball this. And with the, let's reset this backspace. Again, if backspace on the node, if you select it to reset it to default, this is also using the node rank. So I'm going to adjust the highlights. This one, the something yellowy or orangey, and then this is the highlights will be on the blue side. And also the shadow, let's try and okay, use blue on that also or not. 0. Okay. Then after that, I added the glare and used the emit output from the render layers. The render layers can be found, or render passes can be found here. So I use the z-axis, the emission, the ambient occlusion, shadow catcher, and material or the cryptomat, just in case I want to exclude some parts of the uh, area from the compositor, or just filter or use their mask to create separate effects for them. Okay, and then I used, so you can just experiment with the options here. You can use fog glow, simple star, streaks. Let's use simple star. So default threshold is 1. You can see that none of the lights are affected. If you lower the threshold, more and more of the emission will be, depending on their intensity, more and more of the emission will be affected. Okay, so uh, uh, after that, I used lens distortion and activated fit to get rid of the border to stop it to actually contain the effects in the border. So if I distort it like this, 0.1. So in order to avoid this, use fit. But if you want, of course, for this kind of effect, you can do it. And then 0.002. Okay. And then the dispersion, 0.002. So what I did was used a huge amount because I wanted to, in the video, in the animation of this, I wanted to have that chromatic aberration. So 0.05. There we go. And here I used a lens distortion. Let's delete this. I multiplied lens distortion, backspace to set it to default, and distort this without using fit. And this is the multiplication with a factor of 1. Filter, blur, and fast Gaussian 200. So this is kind of like a vignette, 0.5. Yeah, probably good. And then, so that's it. That's how simple my composter is. You can copy that. You don't know anything about it, or wait here. So you can pause the video and the shader here. And this is explained in the station modeling video. Okay. And then I think this is the camera shake. Yeah. And also the vision. Okay. Um, let's try and view this with EV and rendered. Go back to cycles. And the second layer of the detail here, which I almost forgot. So select the face, just select the face and use linked flat faces. This is explained in the selection video. Then increase the sharpness to include more of the faces. Actually, am I selecting the right one? No. Linked flat faces. Make sure that it only selected the top faces and not the border faces. Okay. Random panels. Set this to 0 because it's already using an inordinate amount of resolution. Okay. Let's try and select use pattern that's looks sensible. So it's not oh, let's just radial or try radial. Let's try this. And instead of using percent, I'm going to use number for more accuracy. This is the second layer. And instead of using the normal or output, I'm going to use, in the clear faces, I'm going to use inner. This will only preserve the border faces. One with outer will preserve the top faces. So I'm going to use inner. So what we're going to do is make this detail look like it's a part of the mesh underneath. So, but we need to modify this a bit, 0.005, okay, 0.0005, and make it thinner also, maybe probably just use 0.0005 as well, okay. And we run with result, more, okay. This area looks good, this area is not so good. Let's try and increase this, okay. Not, that's too much subdivision. Cursive. Let's try this one. Okay, if we render this, you can see that it's pretty obvious. The object or the mesh is uh, um, putting out shadows from the lights, and also if the surface underneath is reflective, it will also reflect. But we can fix that. Go to object properties and ray visibility. Turn off everything besides the camera. And now if we render this again, just dim on and with dim off, you can see that it looks like the surface underneath is the one that's being cut. Okay, that's a little trick that I've been using for a long time. That's why I've included uh, the clear faces here. Okay, so I call this floater geometry. There's also floater normals, which uses the same method but with normals. not randomized elements, link flood faces, and let's try and select something that looks good. Okay, let's go back to percent because it's faster to modify the value, not necessarily faster operation. We combine the results. After this, you can add another one, create a mesh of this like effect from the result before, recursive, sampling, shortest. Okay, so there's two of them, and they inherited the material from the source mesh, so it's no problem. Turn the everything off in the ray visibility except the camera. By the way, I think this only works in cycles. Uh, it also works in EV, yes, but in cycles you have to turn this off. Let's go back to EV and let's see. Okay, see it works. It also works here, but you have to modify the material to make it uh look like less shiny like that. So in cycles, it's much more believable. Okay, and here, just this part, you can actually bake this to normal if you're good at making cages on your model. So object properties, turn off everything except the camera. So it won't contribute on the diffuse, glossy, transmission, volume scatter, and shadow rays. There you can see the cut lines just subtly reflecting the lights. There we go. And then you still don't have this, but I'm just gonna animate this. Random animation. This will be in the 1.7 update by August. Z-axis and frames 300 frames. So let's play. Did it go back? Oh, okay. Why did the camera go there? So we can't really properly view it using, but we can view it using this method right here. Preview, I mean material preview. This is using EV, but we can render it in cycles. See the still image in the composter. Okay, let's just use Paglo and zero point 0.5 threshold or 1. We render Okay, so this is how the saucer is made. Oh, this is actually this looks different with when rendered. Actually, it's not. Let's go back to shader and multiply to one. Okay, so what this did is multiply the uh, normal geometry information of the z-axis. So RGB is XYZ, the blue is Z, and multiply the positive and the negative on this object here to get rid of the lights on the top and the bottom. So this is the bottom part, and I allowed some lights in by using 0.6 multiply factor. Okay, and yeah, it's one of the. So this is a really cool trick, and I hope you use it in one of your works. And let's pick another one and rotate it on the other direction. So okay, forgot to set the Z and randomize. There we go. And now we have the saucer model. So everything looks good on. I'm basing the look of the shader and the composer based on the render view using cycles, not so much as the material preview using EV. Okay, this is our saucer model, and I hope some of you learned something from this video on how to use the random flow add-on to create such these kind of models. And if you have any question, make sure to use the comment section and the links in the description of the video. In the next video, I will also post my affiliate links. Those are products that some developers are selling. So if you buy from that link, you will be supporting them and also me. So um, just for your consideration, if you find the product to be useful, then just buy it from the link. So I'll start posting. I'll also start posting that on my future videos in the description. Okay, so um, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one and have a nice day.